Here's a 700-word introduction for your speech titled ***, a live life on your own terms, lessons from a motivational legend, ***, written in the inspiring, story-driven, and conversational style of Les Brown, without explicitly naming him and without an ending wrap-up. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, dreamers, and doers, today I want you to look at yourself not through the eyes of your past, not through the lens of your mistakes, not through the labels other people have stuck on your forehead like cheap price tags in a bargain store, but through the eyes of what's possible. Too many people wake up every day dragging themselves through life like they're chained to a boulder, living for everybody else's expectations, trapped by the fear of being judged, rejected, misunderstood, or left behind. But I came here today to remind you that you did not show up on this planet to play small. You did not come here to settle for a life that fits into somebody else's box. You were born with something deep inside you, a spark, a fire, a voice that says, I want to live life on my own terms. I remember a time when I was sitting in a little room, broke, confused, full of excuses, listening to the echoes of people who told me what I could not be. I had no fancy degrees on the wall, no silver spoon in my mouth, and not even a clue where to begin. But I did have something. I had a hunger to do something that would outlive me, a hunger to stand up when I had every reason to stay down, a hunger to look fear in the eye and say, not today. And if I could do it from where I was, you can do it from where you are. You see, living life on your own terms is not about fancy cars, big houses, or showing off for the neighbors who secretly hope you fail. Living life on your own terms is about discovering what sets your soul on fire and having the courage to protect that flame from the winds of doubt and the storms of discouragement. People will look at you and say, who do you think you are? And you have to be bold enough to look back and say, I am a miracle in motion. I am possibility wrapped in skin. I am the one who will break the chains that bound my family for generations. There are people in this room right now carrying dreams that are dying of neglect, dreams stuffed in the back of a mental closet, waiting for the right time, waiting for permission, waiting for guarantees. I came to tell you that if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll be waiting forever. There is no perfect moment. There is only this moment, and it's begging you to say yes. To say yes to that business you've been too afraid to start. To say yes to the book you keep talking about but never writing. To say yes to the relationship you deserve instead of the one you tolerate. To say yes to the next version of yourself that's been whispering, I'm ready. When you live life on your own terms, you stop asking for validation from people who don't even believe in themselves. You stop shrinking so others feel comfortable in your presence. You stop apologizing for wanting more than just to exist. Some people will call you selfish for putting your dreams first. Let them talk. Some will say you've changed. Good. You're supposed to change. You're supposed to grow. You're supposed to evolve. This world does not need more people playing it safe. It needs more people willing to stand in the fire of their own truth and say, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do. I want you to think for a moment about the people you love most in this world. Maybe it's your children, your parents, your partner, your community. Now ask yourself, what kind of example are you setting if you keep living small? What do you teach them when you accept less than you deserve? Every time you settle, you're showing them how to settle too. Every time you back down from your dreams, you're teaching them to back down from theirs. But when you stand up, when you take that risk, when you decide that your life will not be dictated by fear, then you give them permission to do the same. The clock is ticking, and whether you do something with your life or you don't, that clock does not stop. The days will keep slipping through your fingers like sand in an hourglass. One day you'll wake up and realize that the only thing standing between you and the life you wanted was the belief that you weren't worthy of it. But you are worthy, you are ready, you are enough, you've always been enough. The challenge is not to convince the world. You have to convince yourself. You have to look in the mirror and say, I'm done waiting. I'm done playing small. I'm done living by someone else's rules. Every person walking this earth has a voice inside them that is unlike anyone else's. It's a combination of every experience you've lived through, every tear you've shed, every laugh that's escaped your lips when you thought you'd never smile again. It's shaped by the moments you thought would break you, but instead built you. That voice is not an accident, and it's not meant to be hidden behind polite nods, fake smiles, and the heavy silence of trying to please everybody else. To embrace your unique voice and vision means to stand up every single day and remind yourself that you are here for a reason bigger than survival. You are not just another name on a payroll, not just another face in the crowd, not just another warm body going through the motions. You are here to speak, to create, to bring to life ideas and dreams that no one else can birth, because they were planted in you for a reason. There was a time when I believed my voice didn't matter. I thought nobody wanted to hear what I had to say because I didn't sound like the people on TV or the folks with fancy titles. I'd look at my flaws, my stumbles, my so-called failures, and think they disqualified me from having anything valuable to share. But life has a way of teaching you that what you think is your weakness can become your greatest power. That crack in your armor is exactly where your authenticity shines through. People don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be real. When you speak from your gut, when you tell your truth, when you show up with your scars and your victories all tangled up together, you give others permission to do the same. Most people spend their lives trying to fit in with the crowd, to sound like everyone else, to hide the very thing that makes them unforgettable. They mute their brilliance so they don't stand out, so they don't get criticized, so they don't make waves. But what they don't realize is that the world never remembers people who blend in. It remembers the ones bold enough to stick out like a sore thumb, the ones who break the mold, the ones who say what needs to be said when everyone else is too afraid to open their mouths. That's what embracing your unique voice is about. It's about refusing to water yourself down for the comfort of people who are too timid to taste the full flavor of who you really are. Your vision works the same way. You have ideas, dreams, goals that keep you up at night, that pull at your soul when you try to push them aside. Sometimes you share those visions with people you love and trust, and they look at you like you've lost your mind. They tell you to be realistic, to tone it down, to wait for the right time. They mean well, but they don't see what you see. They weren't given the blueprint that you were given, so you can't expect them to clap for a dream they don't understand. It's not their job to see it, it's yours. And it's your job to hold onto that vision even when nobody else believes it's possible. That's how new realities are built. Somebody has to see it first, speak it first, believe it first. And that somebody might as well be you. The world will try to make you a copy of a copy of a copy. It will give you a checklist for how to live your life, go to school. Get the job, stay in line, don't rock the boat, retire quietly, and fade into the background. But deep down you know that was never your path. You know there's more in you than the world wants you to see. Embracing your unique voice and vision means choosing to disappoint people when necessary so you never have to disappoint yourself. It means walking into rooms where nobody looks like you or sounds like you and knowing that's your superpower, not your weakness. It means creating spaces, opportunities, and art that the world didn't even know it needed until you brought it into existence. Sometimes your voice will shake when you use it. Sometimes your vision will feel too big for you to carry alone. That's okay. It's supposed to stretch you. It's supposed to scare you a little. If your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. The ones who change the world are the ones who decide to speak up when staying silent would be easier, to stand out when blending in would be safer, to keep showing up when every excuse is begging them to sit down. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room to have a voice that matters. You just have to speak the truth as you know it, with courage, with love, with a stubborn refusal to let fear have the final say. And when you do that, when you live from that place, you discover that your unique voice and vision aren't just gifts to you. They're gifts to every person who hears you and sees what's possible for their own life through the example you set. There's something powerful that happens when a person decides they will no longer be defined by the narrow boxes other people build around them. From the time we are small, we're handed labels like sticky notes slapped on our foreheads: too loud, too quiet, too ambitious, not ambitious enough, too young, too old, too different to fit in, much to handle. Those labels get heavy after a while. They become invisible chains that keep people tied to jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and routines that keep them numb but comfortable. But deep down, there's a voice that whispers that you were never meant to squeeze your big, bold, wild self into someone else's tiny expectation of who you should be. Think about how much energy people spend every single day just trying to measure up to standards they never agreed to in the first place. They wear masks to blend in at work, put on a show for family gatherings, pretend to be smaller than they really are so no one feels threatened by their gift. But you weren't put here to shrink yourself so other people feel big. You weren't born to sit in the back row of your own life, waiting for permission to shine. There comes a moment when you have to stand up and declare that you refuse to be limited by other people's expectations. It doesn't matter if they're your friends, your coworkers, your parents, your partner, or the critics watching from the sidelines. When you let other people write your story, you become a supporting character in a life that was meant to star you. You end up living by someone else's rules, stuck in someone else's dream, wondering why you feel empty even when you're checking all the boxes. The truth is, you could follow the blueprint they gave you to the letter, get the degree they wanted you to get, marry the person they approved of, take the job they thought was safe, and still wake up every day feeling like something important is missing. There was a time when I believed the voices that told me I wasn't good enough, smart enough, talented enough to do what I really wanted to do. I'd look at people living boldly, chasing dreams that seemed impossible, and I'd think, that's for them, not for me. But the more I tried to fit in, the more I realized I was suffocating. I realized that the people I was trying so hard to please weren't the ones who had to live with the regret I felt every night when my head hit the pillow. At some point you have to decide whose opinion matters more, yours or theirs. Refusing to be limited by others' expectations doesn't mean you have to be disrespectful or cut people out of your life for the sake of rebellion. It means you get honest with yourself about what you want and what you're willing to sacrifice to get it. It means you stop seeking approval from people who secretly wish they had your courage. It means you accept that some people will misunderstand you, criticize you, gossip about you, and maybe even walk away from you, and you let them go with love. Because anyone who demands you live small to keep them comfortable never really loved you anyway. They loved the version of you that didn't make them question their own choices. When you choose to live beyond other people's limitations, you give yourself permission to grow past the walls they built. You start to see that their rules were never meant for you. Maybe they couldn't see beyond the horizon, but you can. Maybe they were afraid to fail, so they settled for average. But you don't have to. Maybe they never chased a dream, so they don't understand yours. That's not your burden to carry. Your responsibility is to honor the calling you feel deep in your bones, the one that won't leave you alone no matter how many times you try to bury it under practical plans and polite smiles. Every time you choose your own path, you break a link in the chain that holds so many people back. You become living proof that it's possible to say no to what doesn't serve you, to walk away from what doesn't fulfill you, to build a life that feels right for you even if nobody claps for you in the beginning. You learn to clap for yourself. You learn to trust that your steps are guided by something bigger than other people's fears. And when people see you refusing to be limited by their expectations, some will resent you, but others will be inspired by you. They'll watch you take risks they were too afraid to take, and maybe, just maybe, they'll find the courage to take their own. This life is too short to live it performing for an audience that doesn't even know how to applaud your truth. You don't owe anyone an explanation for why you're choosing yourself, your peace, your purpose. The people who truly love you will adjust. The ones who don't were never really with you in the first place. You can love them from a distance and keep walking in the direction of your dreams. Fear is one of the oldest companions we carry with us, and for a lot of people, it's the most loyal friend they know. It shows up at the door every time you try to do something new, whispering all the reasons why you shouldn't bother, why you're not ready, why you're not enough. Fear loves to remind you of your failures, your embarrassments, the moments you stumbled and everyone saw. Fear knows exactly what words to use to shrink you down to size, because fear doesn't want you to change. Fear wants you to stay right where you are, comfortable, predictable, and small. But the people who live life on their own terms don't kick fear out. They learn how to use it as fuel. When you think about the moments in your life that mattered most, the turning points that changed everything, they all had fear standing somewhere in the room. Fear was there when you decided to speak up for the first time, when you left a job that felt like a prison, when you walked away from a relationship that was killing your spirit. Fear was there when you packed up your life to chase an opportunity, when you stood on a stage with your voice trembling, when you signed that paper, made that call, took that chance. Fear shows up because it knows you're on the edge of becoming something bigger than what you've been. Most people think they have to wait for fear to disappear before they can move forward. But the truth is, fear never really leaves. It just changes shape. The bigger your dream, the louder the fear. If your goals don't scare you at least a little, you're not dreaming big enough. Fear is not your enemy. It's proof that you're still alive, that you care about what you're doing, that you're standing in front of something that could change you forever. The trick is to stop letting fear be the driver of your life. Put it in the back seat, but never hand it the keys. Some people talk themselves out of their future before they even get started. They sit around imagining worst-case scenarios, rehearsing disasters that haven't happened and probably never will. They paralyze themselves with what-ifs. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if I look foolish? But they never flip the question, what if it works? What if this thing you're afraid of trying is the very thing that sets you free? What if the fear you're feeling right now is the doorway to a life that feels like yours? Turning fear into fuel is about changing your relationship with it. Instead of seeing it as a stop sign, See it as a green light that you're on the right road. When fear says, "You can't do this," answer back, "Watch me." When fear says, "Stay where you are, it's safe here," remind yourself that the safest place is often the most dangerous because comfort zones become cages. Growth doesn't happen in the warm blanket of certainty. It happens when you're standing on the edge of what you know, stretching yourself into what you don't. Fear is loud, but it's also lazy. It uses the same tricks over and over. It will try to convince you that you're too young, too old, too late, too early. It will bring up every time you failed before, every time someone laughed at your ideas, every time you got your hopes up and fell flat on your face. But here's the thing, you survived all of that, you're still here, you're still standing, and that means fear didn't win then, and it doesn't have to win now. One of the most powerful ways to turn fear into fuel is to take action before you feel ready. Action is fear's worst enemy. Fear thrives in hesitation and overthinking, but it hates momentum. Every small step you take chips away at the lie that you can't handle what's coming. Every time you show up for yourself despite the butterflies in your stomach, you build evidence that you're stronger than your excuses. The people you admire, the ones who inspire you to do more and be more, they feel fear too. The only difference is they've learned how to dance with it instead of letting it chain them to the ground. Sometimes you have to look fear dead in the eye and say, "Thank you for showing up, but you don't get to make my choices today." Use that trembling voice to speak anyway. Use those shaky hands to build anyway. Use that pounding heart to remind you that you're alive, and as long as you're alive, you have the power to create something beautiful out of the space between your comfort and your calling. Fear wants you to stay the same. Your future wants you to grow into someone new. It's up to you who you listen to. You can wake up every day and let fear tell you who you are and what you're not capable of. Or you can wake up and use that fear as a compass pointing you toward what matters most. Fear only gets loud when you're onto something important. It starts screaming when you're about to break an old pattern, when you're about to rewrite the script, when you're about to do something your old self never dreamed was possible. Growth is not something that happens by accident. It doesn't fall into your lap while you sit around waiting for the stars to align, or for someone to come along and hand you a permission slip to become who you were meant to be. Growth is a choice, a commitment to step beyond what is familiar, to stretch into spaces that make you uncomfortable, to let go of what no longer fits who you're becoming. Personal growth and reinvention are not just buzzwords to sprinkle into conversations when you want to sound motivated. They are the foundation for living life on your own terms. They are the quiet daily decisions you make when no one is watching, the sacrifices you endure when you'd rather coast, the moments you pick yourself back up after you've fallen for the 1,000th time. Too many people get stuck in the story they've told themselves for years. They cling to old identities like a favorite sweater with holes in the elbows, comfortable but worn out. They say, "This is just who I am. I've always been this way. People like me don't do things like that." But the truth is, who you've been is not who you have to stay. Reinvention is your birthright. Every day you wake up with breath in your lungs, you have a chance to become a new version of yourself, to decide that yesterday's limitations don't have to travel with you into tomorrow. It takes courage to look at the mirror and admit that you've outgrown your own excuses. Maybe you've spent years blaming your circumstances, your parents, the economy, the cards you were dealt. Maybe you've told yourself that if only you had better opportunities, more connections, more money, more talent, then you'd finally become the person you know you could be. But growth doesn't wait for perfect conditions. Growth happens when you take what you have right now, however little it seems, and you do something with it. It's the decision to read the books, take the classes, ask the questions. Surround yourself with people who challenge you instead of coddle you. One of the hardest truths about personal growth is that not everyone will come with you. Some people liked you better before you started changing. They liked you predictable, manageable, easy to define. They knew where to put you, what box you fit in. The moment you start growing, you start threatening their comfort zone, too. Your commitment to becoming better shines a light on the places they've stayed the same. That's why they'll try to pull you back with them, not because they hate you, but because your growth makes them uncomfortable with their own stagnation. If you're serious about reinventing yourself, you have to be willing to stand alone sometimes. You have to be willing to let some doors close so bigger ones can open. You have to trust that what you're walking toward is worth more than what you're leaving behind. Reinvention doesn't happen once and then you're done. It's a lifelong process. The moment you think you've arrived, you stop growing. There's always another level, another skill to learn, another part of yourself to uncover. The version of you that you're working so hard to become right now will have to be upgraded again later. That's not failure, that's life. A tree doesn't apologize for shedding old branches so it can reach higher toward the sun. You shouldn't apologize for shedding old habits, old mindsets, old identities that keep you from your next level. Committing to personal growth means being honest about your weaknesses without letting them define you. It means asking for help when you need it instead of pretending you've got it all figured out. It means being humble enough to learn from anyone, young or old, rich or poor, friend or stranger. Sometimes the lesson you need the most comes from the place you expected the least. Stay open, stay curious, stay hungry. Reinvention is not a one-time event. It's a decision to keep moving forward when standing still would be easier. It's refusing to let the past hold you hostage. It's choosing to believe that what's ahead of you is bigger than what's behind you. People will try to remind you of who you used to be. They'll bring up your mistakes, your failures, the moments when you didn't know any better and did the best you could with what you had. Let them talk. Their memory of you does not have to be your reality. You are allowed to outgrow the old version of yourself, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Every step you take toward growth is an act of rebellion against the part of you that wants to stay safe and small. It's telling that voice in your head that says, "Who do you think you are?" Exactly who you are becoming. Reinvention is not about pretending to be someone else. It's about uncovering the person you were always capable of being before life piled its expectations on your shoulders. It's about stripping away the layers of doubt, fear, and limitation that have clouded your vision when you decide to live boldly and authentically. You don't just change your own life. You become a living, breathing example of what's possible for everyone watching you. There's something magnetic about a person who walks through the world unapologetic about who they are, who doesn't water themselves down to fit in, who refuses to dim their light just because it makes someone else squint. The truth is, most people are not inspired by perfection. They're inspired by the raw, real stories of people who had every reason to give up, but chose to stand tall anyway. When you live boldly, you give other people permission to do the same, not through your words alone, but through the way you show up day after day, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you're scared, even when it would be easier to hide. People talk a lot about legacy, about leaving something behind when they're gone, but your real legacy is the impact you make while you're here. It's the quiet courage someone feels when they watch you speak your truth in a room full of people who'd rather stay silent. It's the spark that lights up in someone's eyes when they see you pursuing a dream that looks a lot like the one they buried years ago. It's the relief someone feels when they hear your story and realize they're not alone in their struggles. You can preach all day long, you can lecture and give advice, but nothing sticks like the testimony of a life actually lived. Living boldly doesn't mean you never feel fear or doubt. It means you stop letting fear and doubt make your decisions for you. It means you understand that courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward despite it. Some people wait their whole lives for the fear to go away before they take that step, say that word, start that project, or end that situation that's breaking their spirit. But the people who inspire us the most are the ones who said, "I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyway." That's what authenticity looks like. It's not a performance. It's not pretending to have it all together. It's being willing to be seen in all your imperfect, messy glory and standing firm in the truth that you are enough as you are, and you're growing into more every single day. When you decide to live this way, not everyone will clap for you. Some people will misunderstand you, judge you, gossip about you behind your back. They'll say you've changed like it's an insult, when really it's your greatest compliment. They'll say you think you're better than them, when really you're just better than you used to be. They'll ask you who you think you are to dream so big, to speak so boldly, to live so loudly, and you'll smile because you'll know exactly who you are. You are someone who refuses to settle for a watered-down version of life. One of the most beautiful things about living boldly and authentically is that it creates ripple effects you may never even see. Sometimes people are watching you who will never tell you they're watching. They're studying how you handle pressure, how you bounce back from failure, how you keep moving when life knocks the wind out of you. They see you picking yourself up, brushing off the dust, and getting back in the fight. And they say to themselves, if they can do it, maybe I can too. That's how you light torches for other people, by carrying yours high, even when the wind is strong. You won't always get it right. You'll make mistakes, you'll doubt yourself, you'll say the wrong thing, trust the wrong people, miss opportunities you wish you'd taken. But none of that cancels out the impact you make when you refuse to hide who you are. People don't want perfect, they want real. They want to see someone with flaws and fears who keeps showing up anyway. They want to see the scars that prove you've been through something and made it to the other side stronger than before. When you live boldly and authentically, you stop needing everyone's approval to feel good about yourself. You start measuring your life not by who claps for you, but by how true you're being to what you believe. You stop asking for directions from people who have never been where you're going. You start trusting your gut, your heart, your intuition, that deep down knowing that whispers, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I'm willing to fight for. And you fight for it, not just for yourself, but for everyone watching, everyone following, everyone who needs someone to prove that it's possible to live free. Your life becomes a mirror for others. When they see your bravery, it reflects their own hidden courage back at them. When they see you stand in your truth, it reminds them they have a truth worth standing in too. When they see you dream out loud, they remember the dreams they tucked away in the dark. You don't have to preach at them. You don't have to force them to change. All you have to do is be the living, breathing evidence that a different kind of life is possible if they want it bad enough to claim it.